So I will quote the UN Secretary General and say that I am neither an optimist nor a pessimist. I am determined because we need to achieve these goals. This is the only option that we have. There is no doubt that the world more than ever needs a common plan, and we already have that plan. Now we have to execute.
Hello everyone, and welcome to our final leadership lesson event hosted by One Young World and the Obama Foundation. I'm Antonio Zappula, I'm CEO of the Thomson Reuters Foundation, and I'm a long-time One Young World counselor. So we're here today to learn from an exceptional group of Obama Foundation leaders and One Young World ambassadors who are driving forward action on the UN Sustainable Development Goals. And this is really an opportunity for us to find out more about what they are doing and to hear if they think that we are on track to achieve the goals by 2030. So I really would like to start with a very quick, let's call it optimism check from all the panelists. So from 1 to 10, I really would like for you to tell me how optimistic you are that we are in fact on track or not to achieve the SDGs by 2030, and in a sentence, just a sentence, why?
I am optimist at 10, particularly in regards to the progress made on the SDG 5, the gender equality, not only because it's my field of expertise, but mostly in regards to its importance in achieving the SDG by 2030. We've been able to bridge the gender gap in primary education, and for me, that is very hopeful.
I would say 8.5. For me, I am very optimistic about the fact that we can achieve the SDGs if we do the right thing, especially investing and working with women and young people. And I believe the world currently has enough resources to achieve the SDGs by 2030.
For me, I would say from scale 1 to 10, I would say 9. Because as you can see now, we are living in the situation where digital transformation is putting as a core value of developments. And now we have lots of startups, and we have a development startup and technologies coming up to help us achieve the goal. So I'm very hopeful and very optimistic about this. And SDG 9 is innovation, so that's why 9.
9 out of 10 for me, more because especially in girls' education, we have been able to make progress in making sure that more girls than ever are in school, and also ensuring that we made progress on ending early marriage.
I have to say 7, because there is also huge challenges. And we know currently for a fact that the world is not on track to reaching the SDGs. And particularly with COVID, we have seen setbacks on all 17 SDGs. So we have huge challenges.
Now, I wanted to ask you, how important do you reckon the commitment from the top is when it comes to achieving SDG goals? And also, how important is cross-party collaboration?
That's a very crucial question. I mean, putting the world back on a sustainable path will require investment, political will, and coordination. Now more than ever, we need concerted efforts by all actors if we are to efficiently address these challenges. And we need to ensure that our approach and our responses keep the most vulnerable population at the center and ensure that they are not further pushed in the poverty trap. And that's what we've seen as a major concern of our leaders in the development space as we are addressing the COVID impact. Now, from the African context perspective is that most countries have been able to keep the virus under control, but the pandemic continues to take a toll on the livelihood of the population, pushing the region into its first recession in 25 years. What we know for a fact is that this recession will be mostly felt by women and female-headed households because of their overrepresentation in the informal sector, in sectors that have been heavily affected by the pandemic, such as the services, the cross-border trade, and the tourism sector.
It is incredibly important, and I think it is really a prerequisite even to achieve the transformation that we need. The title of the 2030 Agenda is transforming our world. It's not small changes we're talking about, and we need systemic change. And that is why we also need legislators to be on board in the implementation of the agenda. But what we really need is for legislators and the representatives of the people to check into this implementation process, and to also be the link to the people that we really need them to be, to deliver the solutions for the problems that their people are experiencing on all of the SDGs.
I'm very hopeful that with the young people and with technology and with the interconnected how we are in the world, things will go smoothly, in the sense that we learn fast and move fast and reflect fast.
So another round of fast questions. I would like to ask you all if you see any gaps in the SDGs. In other words, are they issue areas that have been left behind?
For me, funding is the major gap. Meeting the SDG targets requires a sustained mobilization of resources, both public and private. We know, for example, that we are facing a $200 billion gap per year for education alone. And the pandemic really has shown us that schools are an important institution. They are a safe place for many children, especially those in vulnerable circumstances. Parents have relied on this infrastructure and they have seen their lives upturned as schools closed. And we simply cannot fail this generation of children. And my hope is that this spotlight on education leads to a global shift in priorities, that we will galvanize more resources, especially towards education, and that we can reimagine education to make sure that we leave no one behind. So we need the funding to come behind. We need the investment to come behind this commitment to leave no one behind.
We have 1.8 billion young people in the world, and thinking about the fact that also half of the world population is women, I think most of the SDG framework should be built around women and young people leading the implementation of it. But that's not what we're currently seeing. And I think this could be a major setback if we do not quickly find ways to make sure that women and young people are actually taking the leadership in terms of delivering the SDGs.
What is missing for me is the SDG localization. So when we are talking about this global globe, people would think about something is a bigger scale and something about like, cross-border collaboration. So sometimes local people is missing in the dialogues. I think it's very important to have them, not only local people, but we can have other sector that we haven't been working before, like private sector and other key players. And the thing that has been very, very bothering at the at this moment is the SDG 12 hasn't been mentioned that much, especially sustainable and responsible consumptions. When we are talking about a plastic pollution and about overly, consumes, it's like a vicious circle that when we are promoting fast fashion, when we are consuming and buying a lot, and then it really has an impact. So that's the reason why I think, these need to be focused more on this localization, integration, that how people connect and then act at their own level.
I think what is missing is also monitoring of progress and data. We do have a huge gap in the availability of data in many countries, which makes it really, really difficult to monitor the progress, particularly for parliamentarians, but for anyone who's keen to see progress and accountability. This is a huge problem. So there is also definitely a need to capacity build around the data issue and developing, and to Kavi's point about localization, I think this is really important as well, that we develop national indicators and set national targets, because sometimes the indicator system that was adopted in the UN is flawed when it comes to like looking at your local context. That you need to translate it, and you need to have your own indicators and data collection systems.
The involvement of men and boys in the gender equality agenda needs to be prioritized if we are to accelerate the progress in the last mile and get back on track on the SDGs. And we've seen more of that conversation happening of men as allies in the recent years, but that shift really needs to happen at all levels to ensure that we have an intergenerational conversation between different gender, between boys and men, between women and girls, and ensure that intergenerational benefits that is able to break the cycle of the poverty trap.
Thank you to those who watched, those who submitted questions. I hope these sessions really gave you some actionable and inspirational advice. And to be honest, I think we can all do with some inspiration at this time. So thank you for joining us and thank you for having me. Take care.